The only reason why my house is so expensive, especially considering the size of it, my house in most other housing markets would be half the price. It would be maximum. What is this?
Majority, if not the entirety of the homeless population is created because of the housing market. There are plenty of people who have jobs, but because the housing market becomes insane, they just can't pay for housing. So they still retain their jobs, but they live out of their cars. And it's not about like fucking deporting 20 million migrants or whatever. Like that's not going to fix the housing market. It's going to make it worse, actually. Who the do you think builds the houses? You know, it's like 25% of the construction industry is undocumented migrants. Good luck. You know, imagine wiping out a quarter of the workforce. You're not building houses no more after that. And of course, the voiceless, poor, working class people are the ones who get over in the system because they don't have the same defense mechanisms that a rich person has. Rich people can get together and be like, you're not doing that. They can buy politicians. They can host politicians in expensive dinners and shower them with gifts and become friends with politicians. They go to the same schools with the people that are in positions of power. Their children work under them. There needs to be a underlying like base level of material equality. What Americans believe we have right now, which we don't have, is the equality of opportunity. And equality of opportunity means that like it does not matter what your background is, but you're getting the best education and you're not constantly desperate for your next meal. That's equality of opportunity. We can do that, but if we do that, then profits are going to shrink for major corporations, and we can't have that.
There it is. It's greed. That's all it is. House should be free, though. Not affordable. It's a necessity, not a luxury like a Mercedes or something. Empty, overpriced houses everywhere just so the landlords can raise the price. Hasan is 100% correct. His answer is so clear and thought out. Hope he runs for president. He could surely win. It's not the housing market. They have a lot of very deep issues. The housing market that Hasan contributes to, given he lives in a $30 million mansion, giving incentive to make unaffordable houses. 30 million. Okay. Hasan is dead wrong about corporate profits. Corporations have to pay inflated wages in job hubs to keep their employees housed. They'd make more money without a housing shortage because they could pay less. What? I thought, yeah, my house is now $30 million. Inflation in the Los Angeles housing market has gone completely out of control. Just got home from my first colonoscopy, well rested and ready for some fire ass takes. Yeah. It's funny because the only reason why my house is so expensive, especially considering the size of it, my house in most other housing markets would be half the price. It would be maximum, depending on what year you're purchasing the house, it would be like, it could go all the way down to like $200,000, right? My house right now in Texas, even in Austin, would be maximum $500,000 to $700,000, maybe $1 million, which is not a cheap house by any means, but people make it seem as though it is considered. Like the house that I currently live in is, I think, smaller than my grandparents' house in New Jersey. And when he bought it in like I think like the early 90s, their old house in New Jersey, when he bought it in the early 90s, it was nothing. It was like 150,000 or something, which is still a lot for back then. But it's just like a $3 million house in LA is like a $200K house in the Midwest. Yeah, people say like, oh, your grandparents are rich. I mean, I've talked about this before. They used to be. But once again, it's funny that you mentioning you have a house is enough flex on 90% of us here. It's so funny that this conversation all of a sudden, like people that are currently living in their parents' Connecticut mansion, okay, that is significantly nicer and more expensive than the house that I'm talking about in New Jersey, are in the chat typing, wow, rich grandparents. Like it's so funny to say this because you have no understanding of what the house that I currently live in looks like and the house that you're currently typing that from. Like you're not living, people will be living in Ohio in like a compound, basically typing like, wow, rich socialism, but it's not on screen. So, you know, in North Carolina, a 3-story, roughly 3.5K square feet house is around 350K to 500K. If you're not in the big cities like Raleigh or Charlotte, if you go there, you will see the numbers. Mine is 1.2 K bought at 126K 5 years ago, but at the time it was appreciated to around 200K. You literally had that one guest that said your house ain't shit. No, I've had multiple guests that make fun of me.